Welcome into the show. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody out there also had a fantastic weekend. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and here's what we have coming up. Could the Niners trade for Maxx Crosby? A very well-known, very well-accomplished, and one of the best players on the 49ers tweeted about that this weekend. We're going to dive into that for sure. The Niners lost out on a defensive coordinator candidate over the weekend, and we have a new Robert Saleh update. Before we uncover all of that, here is today's poll question. Championship weekend coming up on Sunday. In the AFC, Kansas City Chiefs will host the Buffalo Bills. In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles will play host to the Washington Commanders. Which two teams make it to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans? Let me know down in the comments section and get those predictions in. Let's start off with this. Pretty juicy rumor on the Niners front. Could the Niners this offseason trade for star defensive end Maxx Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders? Here's why it could happen. When you scan this Niners roster and you think about their needs this offseason, defensive end is near or at the top of the list. San Francisco, as an organization, has historically invested in the defensive line under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Maxx Crosby would form one of the best edge rusher duos alongside Nick Bosa. The Raiders are going to bring in a new head coach and a new general manager. They could rebuild, and if they do tear it down, they might want good picks back instead of an older defensive end to start anew. And we're talking about this because over the weekend, Deommodore Lenoir, an all-pro level cornerback for the Niners, tweeted this out. Maxx Crosby would look crazy in a Niners jersey. And that got Niner fans talking all across the globe because Crosby, one of the premier pass rushers in the sport. This is the type of splash move I'd like to see the Niners make this offseason. Why? They need it. They don't need to rebuild. They need to reset, retool, and they could use another player who can get after the quarterback on that defense. And I would seriously think about offering up the 11th overall pick and the Niners' second-round pick, 43rd overall right now for the services of Crosby. And if the Raiders are blown away by an offer and they decide to tear it down to the studs, are draft picks more important than a pricey defensive end? You could certainly make that argument because in that edge rusher market, these players are becoming very, very expensive, but you want to pay edge rushers when you have a quality team. If you're going to rebuild, why occupy that cap with a defensive end when you can get draft picks back to start those contracts fresh, start to rebuild your roster, and build it on up with younger players? Crosby in 2024 only played 12 games before his season got cut short, but he was once again fantastic. In those 12 games, 45 tackles, 17 TFLs. He's good at getting after the quarterback, but also good making plays against the run, has a relentless motor, plays the game the right way, plays with a ton of physicality, doesn't stop until the whistle blows. 7.5 sacks in those 12 games when he didn't have a lot of defensive help elsewhere on the defensive side of the football. 20 quarterback hits and 5 pass breakups. He is called the Condor for a reason because he plays like that, has a long wingspan, and he is relentless in his pursuit of trying to annihilate what the opposing offense is trying to do and trying to make that quarterback stay a long one. What he's done in the last 4 years, I wouldn't be overly concerned about the injury this year. Why? Because he's been a steadily available player throughout his career. In the previous 3 years going into 2024, he had played in every single game. In 2021, 8 sacks, 30 quarterback hits. In 2022, 12.5 sacks, 36 quarterback hits. In 2023, 14.5 sacks, 31 quarterback hits. And in 2024, 7.5 sacks, 20 QB hits in those 12 games played. And yeah, I did mention Crosby's contract as one from the Raiders' standpoint, where if you rebuild, do you want to spend this much money on a defensive end when you could just rebuild, get picks back, and then you can get multiple players for the price of one? That's what I'm thinking if I'm Tom Brady, Mark Davis, and I'm thinking about rebuilding this Raiders organization. But for the player that Crosby is, I do think he is affordable for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. And if you're Crosby, do you want to continue to play for a dysfunctional organization which hasn't won a playoff game in like 2 decades? And he has said, yeah, I'm the face of the Raiders. I know that. He is the heartbeat of the team. He has the Raiders logo tatted on him. But once the Raiders started to have that downfall 3/4 of the way through the year, right around that halfway point, if not that, he had said, look, I'm kind of tired of losing. All I want to do is win. And with the 49ers, you have an opportunity to win. In 2024, had that cap hit of $30 million, base salary of $24.5 million, but the next 2 years, pretty affordable price tag from a base salary standpoint and from a cap hit standpoint to absorb that. And for San Francisco, you check off a position of need, you add another premier player to your roster who's also good against the run, and in turn helps build depth on that defense, which was a problem last year. And then you can use draft capital at defensive tackle, offensive tackle, left guard, center, and that's how you also fulfill your needs. So what say you? Should the Niners trade for Maxx Crosby? That is today's poll question. T for trade, P for pass. Once again, share your thoughts with me down in the comments section. Coming up next here on the show, Niners lose out on a defensive coordinator, and we have another Robert Saleh update. Is he the favorite to land one of the vacant head coaching opportunities? Stay tuned for that. First, today's 49ers Report, sponsored by our friends at Game Time. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets for events even easier. Filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. And finding the best value is what Game Time is all about. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can access tickets from your phone, easily resell those tickets as well. I just love getting the best vantage point and the best price point. It's not just an app for sporting events. You can go to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and a whole lot more. So curated deals make it easier to find the best seats on great seats. The super deal, best value for that event, seat views before you buy, on-time ticket delivery, lowest price guaranteed, and toggle the all-in pricing tool. Therefore, you don't get hit with any surprise fees at checkout. And that panoramic view from your seat and the app before you buy, wonderful technology, because once you arrive at the venue, you know exactly what to expect. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply, first purchase only. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. The Niners over the weekend losing out on a defensive coordinator as the Atlanta Falcons are hiring Jeff Ulbrich as their new DC. Ulbrich, of course, a former linebacker with the Niners, finished last year as the Jets' interim coach, and now he reunites with close friend Raheem Morris in Atlanta, where they worked together from 2015 through 2020. Ulbrich did play linebacker with the Niners from 2000 to 2009. He was a fan favorite for the way that he played the game and what he was able to bring those Niners defenses. And Kyle Shanahan, going back to last offseason, once he moved on from Steve Wilkes after that Super Bowl loss, had interest in him, tried to poach him away from the Jets. Robert Saleh said, no, he's my DC. And then this year, he was viewed as a candidate this year to take over for Nick Sorensen. There was also that report from Friday that myself and Larry Krueger talked about here on the show, that the Niners are going all in on Robert Saleh. They have no backup plan. They haven't really researched what that backup plan could be, and they are willing to make him the highest paid defensive coordinator. So all of the Niners' eggs are in that Robert Saleh basket right now. Ulbrich probably knew that, so he's landing the DC job with Atlanta to take over for Jimmy Lake, who was fired after 1 year. And I was just doing some research for this show, and up came this. The Falcons' 2016 staff under Dan Quinn. Look at how loaded this staff was. And this is how Kyle Shanahan had ties to Jeff Ulbrich on top of Ulbrich playing for the Niners. Shanahan knows what he brings to the table, and then Ulbrich worked under Robert Saleh. So in 2016, that Falcons staff, Kyle Shanahan was the OC, head coach of the 49ers. Matt LaFleur was the quarterback's coach. Now he's the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Mike LaFleur, an offensive assistant, a pretty good OC in the NFL and offensive mind throughout his career. Raheem Morris was the assistant head coach. He's now the head coach with Atlanta. Jeff Ulbrich, the linebackers coach at that time. He's now the defensive coordinator. And Mike McDaniel was an offensive assistant under Kyle Shanahan and Dan Quinn. He's now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Pretty damn good coaching tree right there for Dan Quinn, and he's put together a really good coaching staff with Washington, and that's part of the reason why the Commanders making that surprise run to the NFC Championship game where they will travel to take on the Eagles. If the Niners miss out on Robert Saleh, who is their guy? For me, Dennis Allen would be my number one choice. Runs a 4.3, doesn't like the blitz a lot. Niners had the 5th lowest blitz rate under head coach Kyle Shanahan. What's interesting is that the Niners play zone at the number 1 rate since Shanahan got hired. Dennis Allen runs press man, number 1 rate since he was in New Orleans, but does a really good job of getting creative on the back end with his coverages and does a great job of developing DBs, and he has a great track record of being a defensive coordinator, and he's not going to get a head coaching job elsewhere. He failed as a head coach with the Raiders. He failed as a head coach with the Saints, and so he can be the head coach of the defense for a long time. You don't have to worry about him leaving. With Robert Saleh, you'd have to worry about him leaving because he still has an opportunity to be a head coach if he doesn't land a head coaching job this year. There's also some buzz that if the Niners don't get Saleh, and they haven't really done any research on anybody else, Brandon Staley could be the internal promotion. Vic Fangio disciple, so that's good. Was a good DC under Sean McVay and the Rams, but those Chargers defenses were not good at all when he was the head coach. As for the latest Robert Saleh update, is he one of the favorites to take over for Doug Peterson and land the Jaguars head coaching job? Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated, with this. I think Shad Khan will hire a coach and then map things out from there. If it's Ben Johnson, the Lions OC, Lions getting bounced from the playoffs this weekend. 5 turnovers to the Commanders, none. Breer continued by saying, I would guess if they hire Ben Johnson, Trent Baalke is gone. If it's Robert Saleh, maybe Baalke winds up staying, and I'd probably call those two the favorites. I know the Jaguars like both. There could be other candidates they feel as strongly about, and am I hearing that Ben Johnson's going to the Bears? Is that confirmed? Well, Ben Johnson of the Chicago Bears. So that opens up a pathway here for Robert Saleh to get this Jaguars head coaching job, which is very, very interesting. And Robert Saleh, we're bringing you this breaking news as it's coming through. He was the Jags linebackers coach from 2014 through 2016. And so now that the Jags lose out on Ben Johnson, do they go Robert Saleh, a coach who they're familiar with? If I'm Jacksonville, I want to bring in an offensive mind because I'm trying to get Trevor Lawrence back on track, but that's just what I'm thinking. Here's that Matt Barrows report that I just mentioned from Friday, by the way. I've heard that they've already told Saleh, we will make you the highest paid offensive coordinator in all of the land if you sign with us. And so now it's just a matter of waiting for Saleh, and he's getting all sorts of head coaching attention. With Jacksonville, he had an interview last Tuesday. With the Raiders, had an interview. Dallas Cowboys showing some interest as well. So if not Saleh for defensive coordinator, then who? I want to hear from the faithful for the 3rd time. Thanks for watching today's show. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you next time.